Hi all out there and welcome to another unscripted Flicks Picks review. As you can see, new camera, which means new laptop. Okay, and as promised, I'm here to review the first of the Avengers setup movies, Iron Man. As it's exactly 5 weeks, well, 4 to 5 weeks, I'm not quite sure, you'll have to tell me in the comments section, before the Avengers finally gets released here in the UK. Now, of course, this is one fantastic movie directed by Jon Favreau and features an exceptional cast, which is Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, Terrence Higgins, and just a brilliant cast, and it's so brilliantly directed as well. And I'm just going to plow right through into it. Okay, so it starts off with Tony Stark, who's played by Robert Downey Jr., is the head of Stark Industries, a major military contracting company that he's inherited from his father. Even though Stark is an inventive genius, he is also a playboy. One day, while his father's old partner, Obadiah Stane, who is played by Jeff Bridges, who is a fantastic actor, takes care of the day-to-day business while Stark flies to Afghanistan with his friend to take care of plans for what they call the Jericho missile. However, Stark is critically wounded when he's being escorted back to the base and is kidnapped by the terrorists, but is thankfully operated on by a fellow captive named Dr. Yinsen, who builds an electromagnet hooked up to a car battery, and that enables the shrapnel to prevent itself from entering Tony Stark's heart. Um, Eventually, they find out that the terrorists want Stark to build the Jericho missile for them to use, but obviously he refuses until he's tortured a bit more. But then he starts putting plans together to build a suit to get him out of there. And of course, this leads to Mark 1 being built, and unfortunately, Yinsen is killed, but Stark manages to escape. I'm not going to spoil how, just in case there's someone out there living under a rock who hasn't seen it. When Stark eventually takes off, unfortunately the suit doesn't last much longer, but thankfully he is rescued by Rhodey, his friend, and then returns home and announces that his company will no longer manufacture weapons at a press conference, which is his first public appearance since his capture. However, Obadiah Stane isn't happy with this, and he keeps saying to Stark that he may ruin Stark Industries and his father's legacy if he stops making weapons. However, what Stark does do is build an improved version of his suit, as well as a more powerful arc reactor for his chest, and decides that the company should look more into arc reactor technology. But, however, as the movie goes on and he's developed a bit more of the costume and tested it out, sorry, the armor, I should say, he finds out at a party that his missiles are being used for terrorist use. So therefore he decides to actually don the Iron Man outfit and take on the terrorists. And of course this leads to a very interesting twist in the film where we find out that Obadiah Stane is the one who tipped off the terrorists to where Stark would be. And of course this leads to a brilliant plot device where, eventually Pepper Potts finds out who Obadiah Stane really is and what he's actually planning to do by getting rid of the Sun to take over the company for himself. But thankfully, after a few minor hiccups, there are a few moments where, it looks like it's the end for Stark, but thankfully he manages to pull out of it and take Obadiah Stane on, who's developed his own armour in a one-on-one fight, which is just fantastic on screen. It has to be said, and really keeps you on the edge of your seat. After those events, Tony Stark decides to hold another press conference, and while he's advised not to reveal he is Iron Man, he just decides to think, screw it, I'm actually going to say to him, I am Iron Man, and the film ends there. Or does it? I'm not going to spoil too much, but if you keep watching after the credits, you'll see Shield director Nick Fury, who talks to Tony about the Avenger initiative, and this is where the whole setup begins, and what was 4 years of very long waiting. Now, I have to say, this is my favourite Marvel movie to date. You know, this has a very good origin story that's told well. It has a brilliant cast, with Robert Downey Jr. just completely stealing the show. Um, there's only one rating to give this movie, and that's a full 10 out of 10. It's the best movie Marvel has done so far, in my opinion. And look forward to next week when I review The Incredible Hulk. And please like, favourite, and subscribe, as it really helps. And see you on the next one.